Mr. Ackerson, if you put your left hand on the Bible there, if you would, and raise your right hand, please. Face the clerk, take your oath.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you give this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you.
May we approach, please?
All right. All right. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you state your name, please?
Jason Ackerson.
And Mr. Ackerson, how are you related to Laura Ackerson?
She's my sister.
And in terms of, did you all have the same mother and father?
Same father, different mothers.
Okay. And are you older than she was?
Yeah, by about 3 years.
Where did you grow up?
Originally in Michigan.
And you indicated that you and Laura had the same father. Was he married to your mother first? Was that the first marriage?
Yes, ma'am.
And how old were you when your parents divorced?
I was 5.
And after your parents divorced, did your father then marry Laura's mother?
Yes.
And how long were they married, if you know?
2 to 3 years.
And was there ever a time that you all lived in the same household, that is, you and Laura?
We stayed in the same house when I was over at my father's house on weekends.
Okay. And this was in Michigan at this time?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long did you live in Michigan?
Up until I was 22.
So where did you move when you left Michigan?
North Carolina.
Come to Wake County when you first came to North Carolina?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you move to when you came to North Carolina?
Wake Forest.
And what year was that?
2001.
And you indicated that you were 22 when you left, so Laura was 19 years old when you left Michigan?
Right about there, yeah.
And was she still living in the Michigan area when you moved?
No, she was living in Iowa with her mom.
And had you continued to have contact with her?
Yeah, we talked every couple weeks or a couple times a month.
At some point after you had moved to Wake County, and specifically to Wake Forest, did Laura also move to this area?
I had moved to Youngsville, and then about 2005 she moved into North Carolina and stayed with me for 6 months or so.
And do you know what brought her to this particular area?
I think she wanted a new start on life.
And I mean, did she have a job or any other family in this area other than you?
No, just me.
After you said she lived with you for about 6 months.
Yeah.
And so after she moved out, where did she move to?
She moved to Raleigh.
And that have been sometime in 2005, 2006?
I'd say late 2006. I believe she might have stayed with me for a little bit longer than 6 months.
during the time that she was living with you, was she dating the defendant, Grant Hayes?
Not as of yet.
At some point after she had moved out on her own, did you come to know that she was seeing the defendant?
I want to say it was a year, maybe two.
And how did you first become aware that she was seeing the defendant?
She told me about him, that he was an entertainer and how great she thought he was.
And did there come a time where you actually met the defendant?
Yes.
And can you tell the jury about that, when that was and where that was?
That was in their apartment or house off of Mitchell Mill Road, and she ended inviting me over, and she had baby Grant. He's about 6 months old, and we had dinner and just hung out at the house for a few hours, and then I went back home.
So the first time you actually met the defendant, Grant Hayes, was after Laura had already had baby Grant?
Yes.
You knew about him before that?
Yes.
Was it your understanding, or what did you understand about the marital status? If you had any understanding.
The time frames, not sure about, but I believe it was after they had baby Grant that she told me that they were married.
Did you have occasions to be around Laura and the defendant after that?
Yes.
Typically, where would you see the both of them?
Either at their house on their rental house on Mitchell Mill Road, or at times I would be invited by Laura to go out and see him at a bar or a club and go out and watch him perform.
So you had the opportunity to visit with them at Mitchell Mill Road, and also you would go to various bars or clubs and see the defendant perform?
Yes, ma'am.
And on those occasions, would Laura typically be there at the club where he was performing?
Yes, ma'am. She was kind of the spokeswoman for the, she was in advertising. She tried to set up his next gigs for him.
So when you say advertising, it was related to his business, his music business, that she was there working?
Yes, ma'am.
At some point, I'm aware that Laura and Grant had actually moved to an apartment off Glenwood Avenue.
Yes.
And did you ever visit at that location?
Yes, a few times.
Did you become aware at some point that Laura and the defendant and baby Grant were moving to the Virgin Islands?
Yes, I did.
Who told you about that?
Laura.
Do you know about how long she was in the Virgin Islands?
I want to say 2 weeks to a month.
And did you become aware at some point that she had come back to North Carolina?
Yes.
And how did you become aware of that?
She called me and told me she was back.
And when Laura came back, did she move back to the Raleigh area, or did she move somewhere else? When she came
Raleigh.
back? Did you see her after that, after she moved back to the Virgin Islands?
I did not.
At some point, were you aware that she had moved to Kinston?
Yes, it wasn't that long after she got back.
After she moved to Kinston, would you have the opportunity to either see her or speak with her on the phone?
I spoke with her several times, but never seen her.
Recall the last time that you spoke with your sister?
Probably early 2011. I'm sorry. It was about 3 weeks before she went missing.
Was that on the phone?
Yes.
And do you recall that being about July the 5th, 2000?
Sounds about right.
Where were you when you got that phone call?
I was in the DMV, and there's no cell phone signs everywhere, so I had to get off the phone pretty quickly.
You actually received the call and spoke with her?
Yeah, for a minute, maybe two.
And what was the nature of that phone call?
I just started up a small business, and she wanted to tell me how proud of me she was and that she loved me. And looking back on it, it was kind of out of character that was the whole point of the call.
Just out of character in that it was unusual to receive a call from her, or what?
No, just that, a lot of times she'd want to tell me how things are going, tell me about the boys, and, it's just the first thing to come out is that she wanted to tell me how proud of me she was that I had started a small business.
And you've indicated that was a very short phone call?
Yes, ma'am.
And how did you end that conversation?
I just told her where I was at and that I had to get off the phone pretty quick.
Were you aware that there was a custody battle going on between Laura and the defendant?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that as a result of information that she had shared with you?
Yes.
Know anything about any upcoming hearings related to the custody matter?
No, I did not know dates, sir. I surmised that there was hearings because there was a custody battle and figured it'd be in court.
Been aware of a situation or a time period when children, or at least Grant Jr., was in New York?
Yes.
And what do you recall about that?
I recall Laura calling me up saying that Grant had kidnapped baby Grant and that she didn't know what to do because he was in another state and didn't have the money to travel there, didn't know what she could do legally.
And did you give her any advice?
Just to try and stay in contact with him as much as possible, and I didn't really know any legal advice, no.
Become aware thereafter that she had sought legal counsel, had hired a lawyer to assist her with the custody battle?
When she told me about a custody battle, I knew that she had a lawyer, yes.
Indicated, Mr. Ackerson, that at least at one time period that you would visit with Laura or talk with her on a fairly regular basis, and at some point that changed. Why did that change?
I have to believe it was her, the defendant, Grant Hayes.
At this time, I think if we can outside the presence of the jury.
All right, okay. Folks, I need to make a technical ruling about some matters. Don't concern yourself about that. That's my job, not yours. But I'm going to have to excuse you. And what we're going to do is I'm going to let you take the morning recess while we do that. Take about 20 minutes. It's 10 of 11. Come on back and meet the bailiff out there where y'all meet to get back in about 10 after 11. I'll give you about 20 minutes. Obviously, you haven't heard it all. Keep an open mind. Don't form or express any opinion about the guilt or innocence of the defendant or any matter in controversy. Be careful about your conduct. Follow my previous instructions. Don't discuss the case at all among yourselves with anybody else. Don't let me discuss it with you. Just leave your papers in your chair and come on back about 10 after 11. We'll try to proceed on at that time. Thank you.